The thing that I think is really interesting about your book is that you tackle disappointment, which to me is such an interesting thing because I feel like, as women, we're sort of raised to expect disappointment, but we're also raised to expect a lot. I mean, those of us with privilege in the world, right? And so it's this interesting balance of, as a woman, you sort of are used to fighting a lot of battles and maybe being disappointed, but you also maybe reach a point in your life and like your title says, I thought it would be better than this. That feels like a bold statement. It's a lot to ask for a woman. Like, I deserve better than
Mm.
this. Why did you tackle this concept?
Yeah, I think it's interesting that you say that we're kind of taught to expect disappointment because while I do think that disappointment is one of the universal experiences of life, I think that we are taught that everything's going to be great. Like, I think we're taught that this idea that, we're going to get the job and we're going to have the perfect family and like life is just going to go great if you make these decisions.
You
And
work hard enough.
if you work hard enough, and like it just doesn't look like that for most people. I think we all have a something in our life, a this. We all have something that we're like, oh, I thought my marriage was going to be better than this. I thought my career was going to be better than this. I thought my finances were going to be better than this at this point in my life. I thought parenting was going to be better than this. And we're kind of afraid, I think, to admit that. And so I think this book is a little bit of a permission slip. I'll go first. I'll tell you what I thought was going to be better. And you can find yourself in these pages as well. It's been interesting over the course of the 3 years of working on this project, how many people have been like, oh my gosh, that's such a good title. I feel that. It's like everyone feels that. I was at the DMV today and the woman was telling me about like her grief story. It was sort of strange, just standing at the counter and she's telling me all these awful things that she's been going through. And I told her the title of the book and she got it posted and wrote it down. It was like she felt
Amazing.
so seen standing right there. And I think it's just something we're afraid to say, but we all feel it in our gut.
Yes. Yes. And I think your point is that sometimes the this isn't a grand failure or a huge tragedy or a trauma. Sometimes it really is looking up and thinking, I thought my career would be more exciting than this. I thought my
Hmm.
marriage would be more exciting than this. I thought I would have seen more of the world than this. Whatever your this is.
And I think it's important to acknowledge that, right?
Mhm.
Like so many of us are going through the motions of our day to day. And I know I was in my marriage and I never really paused to think, What do I want? I did think this was going to be better than this. And what I actually want is this. And I think this book, as people read it, forces you to kind of evaluate what
Mhm.
your this is and kind of draw a line in the sand and say, okay, I thought this was going to be better. What am I going to do about it? Like, you're still breathing. You still have life to live. Let's make it better. And create something that you love and that does make your heart beat a little faster and does get you excited and does make you feel more grounded and more alive. I think all of those things are possible, even if you are in a season of disappointment.
Right. And you point out you grieved your marriage and the dissolution of your marriage. It didn't happen overnight. You had been together a long time. It took you time to split. But one of the things that a chapter I really loved was speaking the words you most fear.
Mm, yeah.
That is a really hard thing to do. Why is that important in the sort of moving on process and how do you start?
Yeah, I think you start with just one person. It actually might be starting with yourself of saying that thing aloud, but in vulnerability, we find freedom.
Mhm.
And when we find freedom as we truth tell, we're able to move forward lighter. So even that thing that's really hard to say, in my case, it was my husband's gay, we're getting divorced. That takes people by surprise when you say that to them. But when you admit these deep truths, you actually feel so much lighter, even if it's really hard initially to do. And I think the more you do it, then the easier it becomes to say, and this, and this, and this, like my marriage ended, and this is what I hoped to have in a relationship. And this is what I think I deserve. And this is what I know that I need. Like I just started, it was a snowball effect that happened after I started telling my story. And I think that's true for anyone as they are honest with their situation and tell people that they trust. It's really important to identify people that can carry what you're sharing and are
Right.
safe to tell that to.